My presentation would be about the second principle and whether it's simply about wealth. The first principle of justice states that each person is to have an equal right to the most extensive basic liberty compatible with a similar liberty for others. The second principle states that social and economic inequalities are to be arranged so that they are both A, reasonably expected to be to everyone's advantage. This is also known as the difference principle. And B, attached to positions and offices open to all. This is known as fair and equal opportunity. The subcategories of the second principle are to be carried out in lexical order, not in the order in which they appear. So Part B should always precede Part A in priority. Lexically prior to the principle of justice overall is the principle that people are to be enabled to understand and fruitfully exercise the two principles of justice. Therefore, upon carrying out the second principle of justice, it is assumed that no one is of a position of partiality and that they begin from the original position found in the veil of ignorance. Due to lexical ordering, equal liberty is paramount and cannot be overridden in the name of great social and economic advantages. He also stipulates in the principle of fairness that we are not to gain from the cooperative labours of others without doing our fair share. This is the case for reciprocity, whereby gains are not made at the expense of others. This order enables the maximisation of liberty and minimising of inequalities. Rawls chose to use the rule of lexical order to ensure that liberty can be restricted only for the sake of liberty. They must be followed in the given order to ensure that they enable progression from one to the next effectively. In the book Political Liberalism, also by Rawls, it states that this order regulates the basic institutions that realise these values. Fair and equal opportunity. Fair and equal opportunity is a passive policy, unlike affirmative action or positive discrimination, which is an active policy. It is determined within the structure of a just society and works to enable the difference principle. Rawls casts inequalities in terms of primary goods, not specifically monetary income. He did not favour a fixed minimum wage, nor did he permit unlimited wealth. Therefore, natural and social primary goods include self-respect, imagination, intelligence, civil rights, health, and so forth. Rawls referred to this topic using the phrase income and wealth. This supports the fact that when he talks of wealth, he does not explicitly refer to one's financial state. Additionally, when discussing equality of wealth, he does not necessarily mean to dictate the actions of certain individuals and their certain commodities, only to regulate basic institutional arrangements. For this section of the second principle, Rawls assumes a mostly free market economy, with system of natural liberty allowing for frictional unemployment and vacant positions of employment being made open to all, where no one is debarred from experiencing the realisation of self. The principle of efficiency ensures that an individual cannot make themselves better off at the cost of another, but in order not to be inefficient, must strive to do better for themselves if it in turn improves the circumstance of others. This also applies to the difference principle. Different outcomes may seem unfair, but as long as the procedure is fair, then the society can feel that they have acted justly. Rawls refers to this as pure procedural justice. The difference principle. Rawls acknowledges that inequality is a natural occurrence, but like many natural things which civilised society overcomes for the greater good, it is also possible that society can narrow the gaps of inequality. He said, "The natural distribution is neither just nor unjust, nor is it unjust that persons are born into society at some particular positions. These are simply natural facts. What is just and unjust is the way that institutions deal with these facts." He believed the best way was to raise the expectations of those worse off. Rawls does not want a meritocracy and therefore doesn't believe in wages for one's deserts. Firstly, because there is no way of defining the requisite criteria of deservingness in the original position. And secondly, it fails to distinguish between moral desert and legitimate expectations. He saw that success was mostly a result of economic and social serendipity. The work that someone put into their success was not the element that made people deserve high incomes, as the opportunity to succeed is effectively impossible without society. Therefore, society deserves a reward for having enabled you to succeed at all. Additionally, talents you are born with should not permit you to command an excessive reward for your lottery success. For instance, great singers or sports stars. Even the willingness to make an effort, to try, and so to be deserving in the ordinary sense, is itself dependent upon happy family and social circumstances. Rawls therefore believes that people ought to be paid enough to give them an incentive to work, and enough for them to also give back to society, for instance via tax, but preferably in more direct means, as he did not believe in the trickle-down system. With this approach, he is not compensating those naturally less fortunate for their bad luck, nor limiting those gifted from monopolising on their good luck. There can be a great income disparity between people, but this must be reflected in the benefit to the worst off. He said, injustice then is simply inequalities that are not to the benefit of all. To conclude, it seems evident that the second principle is simply about wealth. However, it includes but is not limited to the financial profits. The second principle is simply about a wealth of characteristics that leads to a higher quality of life for everyone.